Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library System, and we're going to make another neat project. I wanted to do something that was, again, unisex, but leaning more towards being masculine enough so that a guy would like to wear it. So what I saw a really neat bracelet that had these links that I think she called them something else. Who is this? Fanta- Fantasia girl. I can't remember her first name. Oh, that's terrible. If anybody remembers, if anybody can think of it, just let me know. So I like to give credit where credit is due. But anyway, she made a bracelet out of these links. They're just twisted and wrapped on the ends. And let's see if I can get a good visual here. Yeah. And I thought that was really neat and it looked kind of manly. I had wanted to do something with that barbed wire look that I've seen around, but I mean, the ends are sticking out and I thought, that does not look comfortable. I don't care how you file it. Those things are going to be poking you. So I said, well, I'm not going to do that. So I was looking around for the next best thing. And this was pretty darn close. It's just twisted in the center, wrapped on the ends with a loop on both ends. And I think it looks great. And what I was going to pair it with is some beautiful bloodstone. It's really pretty. So I've got different sizes and shapes of these. I've got some round, rectangle, square, really neat. And I think it's kind of masculine looking, but it's also can be worn by us. Hey, us ladies. So I'm going to do that. We're going to be using the bloodstone. You can use 20 or 22 gauge wire. I probably wouldn't go any higher in gauge or smaller in wire than that for the whole thing. And if you're going to make your own jump rings, for example, I would suggest you either doubling the jump rings for the links or using 20 gauge wire. Either one is fine. But we're also going to make our own clasp. I don't think I've had as many comments about, well, I did when I did those decorative ones, but about a standardized clasp as I have this Egyptian clasp. People keep saying, did you make that? Did you make that? Yes, I made it. And I showed you how to do it in one of the other videos that I did for guy stuff. I like this one for men's, what can be worn by men, because it's not decorative or frou-frou or girly or anything like that. It's very sturdy and very strong. Well, sturdy, strong, both the same thing. And it's a vintage. It's it was made like this. Things have been made like this for a very long time. And the lady that I saw show how to do it, she's the only one I've seen make this. And I don't know if she created it, but the video was many years old. And she said that she made it while she was in Costa Rica with her little toddler, and she is now in like her at least 60s or 70s. So this goes way back. And she said that there was an editor, I think, of a magazine who said that this is an Egyptian, called an Egyptian clasp. Put it there so you can see. There we go. So again, something dark. And so that's what she says it is. It's an Egyptian style clasp. And you can see it on all kinds of old jewelry and vintage jewelry and even vintage clothing for hooks. So we're going to make that clasp, and we're going to also make the link that goes with it, the loop. Oh, really? Come on. The loop that goes with it. Yes. So we're going to do that because I've gotten so many questions about how to do it. So I'm going to show you how to do it again today. So we're going to be making our little bone links. We're going to make our clasp, and we're going to wrap our beads. So let's get started. So you're going to need your standard round nose pliers, square nose pliers. I'm using an extra pair of pliers because we have to use 2 pairs of pliers to twist these. And I think it's easier to do with 2 pairs of square pliers than it is to do with round pliers. And we need cutters and a ruler. My little clear ruler has left the building. I don't know where it is. It's probably looking right at me. Is it in here? It's probably looking right at me, but it's clear, so I can't see it. I'll be sitting there looking for it, and it's sitting right in front of me. That's really bad. But anyway, I've got like a dozen of them, but I refuse to go get another one because I am determined to find that one. Anyway, enough chit chat. You need a ruler. So now I'm going off the rails. So now let's get started. Okay, so we need, let's start, I think I'm going to do this backwards and start, and I'm going to do it traditionally. I was going to start with the clasp, but let's go ahead and start with our little link. So what we need for what I'm calling, I think it looks like a bone. Anyway, so what we're going to need for our bone is about 8 to 9 inches of wire. And that's if this is about 1 inch long when I finish with it. The bone part. And then we have the loops on the ends. And so what you can do is determine how long you want your necklace to be, and that will tell you how many of the little bones to make and how many beads to use and what size beads you need. So what I'm going to do is use about 9 inches. I'm probably going to have some left over for my bones, and we'll see at the end how many are left over. 6. I missed my ruler. 9. Using 20 gauge. Again, you can use 20 or 22, it's up to you. But if you want to use the same gauge all the way through and not have to switch for your clasp, I would suggest 20. Okay, so I'm going to fold my wire in half. So my wires are side by side. Get down there. Let's get it as close to halfway as possible. It's not quite halfway down there. There we go. That's about half. All right, let's get these in this loop closed up because I want it to be as close together as I can get it. Okay, there we go. And then let's just bend one side. I'm going to do about 3/4 of an inch. I want the finished length to be about an inch or so. So I'm going to go down about 3/4 and I'm going to put another bend in my wire. Bend it up towards the tip here. Close that up like the first one. Nice and close so that the wires are side by side. Okay. And then the same wire, I'm going to bring it back down. And I want to make sure that my little bends, my little loops are even up here. All even at the top. As close as I can get, like so. Do the same thing with that one. Close it up, and I find the easiest way to do that is to hold it between my thumb and forefinger, nice and tight, and pull as I squeeze. Otherwise, one wire is going to try to bend under the other one. So pull and squeeze. There we go. Nice and even. Like that. Then I'm going to take the long tail of wire and I'm going to fold that. And again, I want the loops as close together as I can get at the top. They need to be the same length. And squeeze that like I did all of the others. Fantasia Elegance, that's who I saw do this. And she made just a chain of these into a bracelet. And we're just taking it one step further and adding some beads and making it a necklace. Or you can do that and make it a bracelet. Let's close that up just a little more. The closer I can get them, the easier it is to do my twists. Pull and squeeze. Squeeze this one a little tighter. Okay, so this is what I have. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is bend one over the top of these loops, and then the other one in the other direction in the top, over the top of the other loops. So now this is what I have. And I'm going to take my 2 pliers, and this is why I said we needed 2 pairs of pliers. And we're going to grab the ends on either side. And twist. Let's get a nice twist. See that? see that very well. And mostly you want to make sure you twist it really good in the center, because that's what's going to be showing. The rest of it is going to be covered by the reps. Also want to be careful not to wrap it too tight or too much in the center, because you don't want the wire to snap. So there we go. There's our little twist. Trying to get it to focus. So I want to. Okay, here we go. So now we're going to make our loops. Yeah. So we're going to take our round nose pliers, make a loop at the top over these little ends of our you should be over here. Yeah. Over the little ends of our twisted wire. Doesn't need to be too big. It just depends on what size you want. And wrap the wire, the tail of the wire, over my pliers until I have a loop. Like so. A lot of glare. And then I'm going to wrap around the top of my twisted wire, just under my loop. Just wrap around until those ends are covered. And I'm going to push my end down, that little tail, so it doesn't catch on anything. I like to put a little curve down in my wire so that when I push it down, it conforms to being at one with the wire that it's supposed to be tucking under. If I have it sticking straight out, that's all it wants to do. So there's one side. Now let's do the other side. Make my loop. Make sure it's about the same size as the other one. Go about a third of the way down here. Bring my wire across my pliers and all the way around. I'm going to turn my pliers and make sure it goes all the way under so I have a complete loop, like so. I'm going to wrap the wire around and over the ends of my twisted wire. Get in there. And you can hold it with your fingers or you can hold it with your pliers. It's entirely up to you how you do it. And I probably should be holding it with my pliers so that you can see what I'm doing. And this is a very organic piece, in case you haven't Okay, in case you haven't noticed. It's not, it's supposed to be a little rough so that it looks like something a guy would wear. So I've got my wrap that's sticking out here. I want to push it under, and I'm going to turn it so that there's a little bit of a curve so that when I push it down, that end will go under and in between the wraps and not stick up. And there is my, I call it a dog bone. I don't know what you want to call it, but I can't remember what she called it. But there's my link. I have another one here. And I mean, it doesn't look like much now, but when we put it together, it's going to be awesome. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is your wrapped loops for your bead. If you've never done a wrapped loop before, now's your chance. Very, very easy. Now, I like to give myself a good 1/2 inch on each side of my bead. And my bead is about 1/2 inch long. So I need a good 1.5 inches of wire. Probably one of the easiest ways for me to see how much I need if I just want to eyeball it is to slide my bead on to see what I need on each side. So I like to put it on and then go ahead and make my first loop. So it's just on there with the rest of the wire. So I'm going to find my about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch, whichever you're comfortable with, mark, and I'm going to turn my wire back till it's at right angle with the rest of the wire. Then I'm going to slide my pliers under the short tail so that one of the teeth, if you want to call it that, one of the clamps is on the bottom and one is on the top. And then I'm going to bring that short tail across my wire, across my pliers, over my pliers, and let them rest on top of the pliers. Then I'm going to open my pliers up. I'm not going to take them out. I'm going to turn them until it's like a T shape with my wire. And I'm going to bring that wire under my pliers to form a loop. So there's my loop. And I'm going to take that short tail of wire and wrap it around the long tail. I'm going to do this again on the other side. It might be a little disorienting with all of this hanging down to see how I did that. But when I cut this off, you'll get a better look. So now I'm going to clip that little tail off. And I like to turn my wire down so that that little tail doesn't fly off in my face or around the room. I put the back of my pliers as close as I can get to the rings of my wire, turn that down, snip it off so that it's right here on the mat. It didn't go anywhere. And so now I want to push down that little end of wire so that it won't snag on anything. Let's push it down next to the other wires. Okay, and I'm going to slide my bead up against my rings here. And I'm going to cut off down to about 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, whichever you're more comfortable with. I think a little more light is required. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm going to make another loop, and I want the loops to go the same direction. So I'm going to bend my wire back. Here's my loop. So it's doing something funky over here. Straighten you out. So I'm going to bend my wire back. There's my loop going this way. So I'm going to bend my wire back so that my loop will be going the same direction as this one. Take my pliers, slide them down to about the same placement that I had on the first one, about 1/3 of the way down. Wrap the tail end of my wire around my pliers. All the way around there. Open my pliers, turn them, and complete my wrap underneath my pliers until I have a nice little loop there. And I can continue my wrap. Now I'm going to just wrap the short tail of wire around the stem in between my pliers and my bead. I think I only did 2 wraps on the other side, so I can do 2 wraps on this side as well. And if you get to the point where your wire is very, very short and you can't do it with your hands, just take your pliers and finish the last turn around there. Good. Yeah. So now I want to push that little end down. I think I have enough so that I can clip off that edge just like I did on the other side. So I'm going to clip that off. Again, I'm going to turn the back of my pliers and rest it against the loop or against the rings that I've already made. Cut that off, turn that down so it won't fly away. See, it bounced over there. Need to control it and push that end down so that it's nicely housed in between my bead and my ring. And there's my wrapped loop. Now this is leaning a little bit. If that happens, all I do is take my pliers and straighten it out. And there's my wrapped bead. Find the camera. There we go. So now it's time to link these together. And the way I'm going to do that is with jump rings. Now you can make your own jump rings. And I've shown that many, many times because if you run out of jump rings and you have wire, the easiest thing to do is to make your own jump rings. If you go to the store and they don't have the size jump ring you want, the easiest thing to do is make your own jump rings. It's so simple. And why buy them when it'll be a fraction of the cost to just make them? And you can make them if you're using a color of wire that you can't find jump rings, then you can make your own red jump rings if you want. If you have red wire or even copper wire that you can't find in the store in the right size or in the jump rings, you can make your own and your piece looks wonderful. So what we're going to do is take my pliers, you want to decide what size you want your jump rings to be. And just look, if you look at the different sizes along the barrel of your pliers, you can kind of estimate what the size is going to be. So what I'm going to do is clamp down on my wire, make sure nothing's sticking out the back there, and I'm going to just rotate my pliers until I have a loop. If I'm making several jump rings, I just want to keep going. I just want to keep going. I think that's better. Until I have a coil, and then I can just cut them off. So there's one loop. There's the tail. I have one full loop. I'm going to keep going. I'm making sure the tail of my wire is going out towards the tip of my pliers so that my jump rings will be the same size. There's a second one. I think I'm going to stop there. Clip it. Just clip it right there beside the tail, the end of my wire. Clip it off. And come off of there. That one doesn't want to go. And there are my jump rings. I mean, what could be simpler than that? Two nice, shiny jump rings. Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to show you the proper way to open your jump rings because I've seen some I'm going to show you the wrong way on one and the right way on the other. I've seen some horrifying things done. Okay, because here I have my jump rings. So I'm going to take my pliers. This is the way that you do not want to do it. Open. Yay. So it's open. But now I have butchered my loop so that when I try to close it again, it's going to be all misshapen. Look at that. My circle is not a good circle anymore. See how rough that is? I don't know if you can see it. See, it's all nubby. This is a little off, kind of squared off over there because I made it into a U and then tried to push it back together. No, here is the proper way. I could have done that better. I could have made it even worse. Let's do it again so I can really show you. So if I pull it open, I run the risk of changing the shape. So there it is. Now I'm going to close it back up. I pulled it apart. Now I can just push it back together. And there we go. Not terrible, but it's more of kind of an oval shape than my round shape that I had before. See the difference? So now I'm going to show you the proper way to do it. Not only that, but you're really causing some damage in the center of your jump ring and you don't want to stress them too much. So I'm going to take my pliers and put it on one side of the opening, take another pair of pliers and put it on the other side of the opening, and I'm just going to give it a little twist. So now I have an open jump ring. Okay, then when I close it, I can twist it back or I can hold it with one of the pliers and just squeeze it closed with the other pliers and then just adjust until it's completely flush. Ta-da! Looks exactly like it did when I opened it. Okay, so we're going to put everything together. I have some more jump rings here. Well, we made the jump rings. We've made our components. And I, of course, have most of it done. So we're going to put everything together. Let's get the jump rings out here. So I'm going to take one of my little bones, grab a jump ring, slide the jump ring on my other, on one of my beads, and slide the bone in the jump ring as well. I should call it the link. I don't know if I like calling it a bone, but that's what it looks like to me. And close. And there we go. Let's do another one. Take my jump ring, put my bead on, attach it to the other link on my little bone there, and close. And let's do the last one. Jump ring, bead, bone link. I don't know what to call it. I'll have a name for it before I put it up, and close. Awesome. And there we have it. I need this for the clasp. And there's my necklace. Isn't that great? I love that. Let's put on something so that you can actually see it. Isn't that neat? Oh, and you can really see the bloodstone in this camera. Love it, love it. Clasp. Time to make our clasp. All right. So, scooch some of this stuff out of the way here. Let's start with the hook. So I'm going to take 6, and this whole clasp takes less than a foot of wire. It's wonderful. So I'm going to give myself about 6 inches of wire. And the first thing I'm going to do is make a little notch. Oh, that's got a little curve in it. Let me cut that off and make it nice and straight. Yeah, there we go. So first thing I'm going to do is make a little notch at the end. And I want it to be about 1/8 of an inch long. It doesn't have to be too long, but I'm going to just take my pliers and grab my wire and put a little notch in the end, like so. Got that? And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to slide them down about, it doesn't have to be too big a loop. This is going to be my attachment loop. It's going to attach to the end of my chain link. And I'm going to turn my pliers away from the end of that little notch so that my notch is coming towards me. I'm going to rotate and keep going until that little notch is back behind my long end of wire, like so. Then I'm going to take the tip of my pliers and bring that little notch down until it's beside my long wire. So there's my loop, there's my notch, and there's my long wire. So they're side by side. That. That so far? So far, so good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is measure. It depends on how long you want your hook to be. I did a bunch of them so I could demonstrate different lengths. This one, I folded it 1.5 inches from the end. You can see that is a very, very long hook. This one, I folded 1.25 inches. So that's what we have. Turn it around this way. And this one, I folded about 1 inch from the end. I did about 1 inch. So I'm going to go with the 1.25 inches because I like that. So I'm going to give myself 1.25 inches from the bottom of the loop. So 1.25 inches. And I'm going to fold this over toward my little, where the little end of my tail is. So fold that back beside the little tail. So now I have 2 long ends of wire with my little tail in the center. So one end, the other end, and the little tail in the middle. The long ends of wire kind of bracketing my little, that little ledge that I made, or that little notch that I made. So then I'm going to go down here to the end, and I'm going to squeeze that together, sort of like we did with when we made the little loops for our bone link. Still calling it that. And I find the easiest way to get these to stay together and not fold over or under each other is to hold it nice and tight in between my thumb and forefinger, grasp the 2 ends, the 2 sides, and pull as I squeeze. Pull and squeeze, pull and squeeze, pull and squeeze. And there we go. So again, I'm checking to make sure I have the 2 long ends on either side and my little notch in the center. And if this is turned a little bit, you can just redirect it with your pliers. Just give it a little turn. So now I have my loop, one side of my wire, the little notches in the center, and then the other side of the wire. They're just kind of hugging it. If you can see that. Okay, bring it. Can you see that now? Yeah. So now what I want to do is grasp all my 2 long wires and my little short wire and bend this long wire back, the tail back at a right angle to my loop. And then I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to put it in my loop as far down as I can go, as far in as I can go. Again, making sure that long with the little notch in between, and I'm going to make another loop. Oops, you know, I'm going to go this way because I want to make sure it's the same size. Okay, I'm going to make another loop. All the way back past my folded wire. And now I have 2 loops. And again, if that little notch has popped out, as it is wont to do sometimes, just push it back down in between the two long wires. Sometimes it doesn't like to be hugged, but you have too little notch. And now I can start my wrap. I've got my 2 loops. I've got everything in place. I've got my wire sitting here ready to go. And I can start my wrap. And I want to wrap right underneath the loops. And if you get that first one nice and straight, the rest of them will follow. So there's my 2 loops, and I'm starting my wrap. That little notch is in the center in between the 2 long loops. If it's popping out, just squish it back down there. And wrap. I wish I could hold that up, but I cannot. Can't hold that and wrap, unfortunately. I know. Let's put that down like so. And I have a little bit of a gap in between my notches, I can see. So it does what I want and then it messes itself up again. Okay, so I'm going to take my pliers. I'm going to squeeze my rings together so that they're nice and close. And there aren't any gaps. So. And then I'm going to continue wrapping, and it's up to you how much wrapping you want to do. I like a kind of, you can go 1/3 of the way down, 1/2 of the way down. I like a nice long wrap. So keep going, give it another few more. Straighten this out a little bit. It's trying to cross over itself. There we go. Just give it another couple of wraps. I think that's good. Make sure everything's straight here. All right. Should I give it another wrap or 2? Yeah, let's give it another couple of wraps because I like it to be nice and long. I think it's pretty if I have lots of wraps down there. Okay, got a little gap. Let's close that up. I think that's enough. So now what I'm going to do is cut off the tail. And I want to make sure that that tail is in between my 2 wires, my 2 ends of wire. I don't want it sticking out the side because it'll scratch things if it's on the side. If it's in the center under my hook, it will it'll be hidden and it won't do any damage. So let's go for that. One more little wrap. Yeah. Yeah. Let's take that off. Now, if I have it already started to curve around, it's a lot easier to get it pressed down when it's time for me to push that down. So this is going to be my underside. I'm going to clip off my wire. So that this rests down on the flat part of my clasp. Push that down. Good, very good. Not on the side. Straighten my little rings out here. Okay. Okay, there's my little nub, my little end. I want that to be under my hook. So what I'm going to do is make a little notch, another little notch on the very end of my wire, away from the nub. There's my nub. So I've got that now. And then I'm going to bend my wire in the same direction as that little bend I just made at the tip. There we go. Again, there's my little notch. I'm going to put my pliers under, or my wire in between my pliers. I'm going to go back to the large part of my pliers. I'm going to bring my wire over my pliers and all the way around and down until it touches my rings. Oh, I'm off camera. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to bring, this is going to be mangled. So sorry about that. I wasn't paying attention. Okay, so I've got my little notch that I bent back. I've bent my wire back. There's my little end. And I'm going to take my pliers, take it down to the back, the larger part of my, take the wire back to the larger part of my pliers. And I'm going to bring this little tail over my pliers, all the way over and down. Until it touches the little rings that I've made. And there we have our hook. There it is. And if you need to make any adjustments, you can do that. You've got your 2 rings. Makes it nice and sturdy. They look like they're a little out of alignment. You can just correct that with your pliers. And there's our hook. Nice, huh? Very pretty. Ooh, I made a nice long coil this time. Every time I do it, they come out different. Always playing. All right, now it's time to make the loop that goes with it. So for this, we need, well, I use 5 inches of wire. So I need my little swatch of fabric. Okay, so I'm going to use 5 inches of wire. And we're going to repeat the beginning of what we did on the other one. We're going to go down and make about a little 1/8 of an inch notch. This is better, isn't it? You can see better. Make a little notch. Take my round nose pliers and make a loop. Again, it doesn't have to be too big. I'm just going about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, and I'm going to twist my pliers towards me and away from the end of the loop. You can do it the opposite way, as long as you're always turning it away from the tip so that you're bringing the tip towards you. I'm going to keep rotating until that end goes back behind the long end of wire. Then I'm going to take the tip of my pliers and I'm going to turn that back down until it's resting on the side of my long edge. So they're just side by side now. Then I'm going to take, I usually just take my fingers and do it, but if you're trying to preserve your nails, just grasp. There's my little tip, my little ledge, and the long end on the side, and bend the wire back until you have a bend going away from the tail, the end of my wire. So there's the end, there's the long edge. Then I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to slide my wire all the way back to the large part of my pliers. And I'm going to make another loop. I'm going to bring my wire around towards my little knot, that little knot, what do I call it? Little knob that I've got over there. I'm going to bring it all the way around past the loop, the first loop, past the first loop. Off camera again. That's what happens when I have this down so low. I want you to see. And now I have a large loop. So there's my little nub. And there's my loop. And then I'm going to take my pliers, put it on the side, and I'm going to straighten that wire out so that I've once again framed my little nub in the center of 2 pieces of wire. So there's my long edge, there's my loop. Come back here. Long edge, loop, little tail, little knot, that little knot in the center. Yeah. Okay. See that? So now what I want to do is I want them side by side. So there's my long edge. I keep repeating this because it's easiest to remember if I keep repeating where everything is supposed to be. So I have my loop and my little nut, that little tail is right in between them. So now I'm going to grab all of my wires and I'm going to bring my tail back until it's at a right angle, just under my small loop. So there's my small loop, and that's out to the side. Then I'm going to put my pliers inside my loop. Let's go this way. Put my pliers inside my loop, all the way down as far as I can go, and make a second loop. I'm just going to wrap that around my pliers and keep going under my pliers. And now I have 2 loops. And my little nub is still in the center. So I have the 2 loops with my little nub still nicely hugged in the center of them. So now I'm going to go back in both of my loops and start my wrap right underneath the pliers and the loops. I want to get it as high up there as I can and start wrapping down the stem. See that? I'm going to flip it over so I can see. Look, pretty neat. Not too many gaps. There's a little bit of a gap there. Just squeeze it closed with my pliers. I think one more half of a wrap will do it to the other side. And I think we're ready to clip it off. Again, I'm going to clip it so that the wire is in between my rings, the rings of my loop. And I can see my little loop is kind of listing to the side a little bit. Can you see that? It's not quite straight. So I'm going to adjust that with my pliers. Let's pull it back until it's nice and straight. So there, that's better. Yeah. So now I'm going to clip this off, clip this tail off so that the end is right in between in the center of the loop. Again, I don't want it on the side because I want to be able to hide it down there in the middle of the loop where it won't hurt anything. So I'm going to put my pliers on there as close as I can get to the rings, clip it off. And push that tail down. Oops, now those pliers don't work so well. Push that tail down. Oh, that's not short enough. It's on the side. That is not what I want. No, no, no. Cut it a little closer. Come back, Shane, come back. Okay. I don't get as silly anymore, which is a good thing because sometimes I go back and I look at my videos and I go, why? Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. Okay. Oh, darn it. Nail alert. Darn. Anyway, what I can do about that right now. Let's clip that down a fraction of an inch. Or turn it away from me. I really don't want that to fly in my eye, as my mother would have said. Put your eye out. Clip that off. Okay. Oh, that nail's going to drive me crazy. Anyway, let's push that down. Occupational hazard. And if you can hide it in between the rings, so much the better. Good, very good. Hey! And there, ladies and gentlemen, is my loop part of my clasp. And now you can just make any adjustments like we did on the other one. Make sure your rings look the way you want them to look. Straighten everything out. Yeah, that's good. Yes, there we have it. Here's my other side. Ta-da! There it is. So nice. Okay, so there you have it. This nail. There you have it. There is our clasp. And now let's attach it to the rest of our necklace. So now what I want to do, when I'm attaching a clasp, especially on something that's for a guy that needs to be a little sturdier, I have a tendency to double jump ring just for safety's sake. I like having the security of 2 jump rings. That's just me. I'm gonna bring this up because I keep going off camera back here. Okay. So I'm just gonna put 1 jump ring on and put 1/2 of my link. I guess I could unhook it so you can see better. Okay, so I put 1 jump ring on one of the little bones. There we go. And then 1/2 of my hook. I want the hook half of my clasp. Close that up. See how much easier it is to close when I don't pull those links apart. I just twist them open and push them close. Let's go with the second jump ring. Attach it to my link. And through my hook. Come on. Stop making my life difficult. Okay. Let's put it through the link first and the hook of my clasp second. And the big thing that you want to be aware of when you're using a double jump ring is that you don't accidentally hook the 2 jump rings together. You want them to be separate so that they can work as a team. Okay, so there's 1/2. Let's grab another jump ring, slide it on my link, slide my clasp on. And it's also, I'll tell you that in a minute. It's also really neat to have the double jump rings on, especially with this kind of clasp, because it looks like part of a pattern. Because see how we have a double jump ring and a double ring on the clasp? Neat. Everything's doubled. And if you want, you can double the jump rings all the way through your piece. In fact, I probably advise it, especially, I think I mentioned before, if you're using a smaller gauge wire or a larger gauge wire and smaller size. Remember that the larger the gauge, the smaller the wire. I know you're sick of me telling you that. Okay, let's put this jump ring through the link and through the loop part of my clasp and close it up. I'm sorry if I get really repetitive in my instructions, especially when I'm talking about things like wire size, but I am taking it for granted. I'm not taking it for granted that you are seeing or have seen any other of my videos where I've said that. So if I sound like I'm repeating myself, I am. It's not because I don't think that you're listening. It's because it's the best way to remember. And I thought it was so weird that that 22 was bigger than 20 or smaller than 20. I thought, what whose idea was that? I don't know what that means. I don't know why they did it that way, but they are not going to switch it. It is what it is. If anybody knows and it has an explanation as to why, I would love to hear it. There is our necklace. Let's figure this out. This white silver does not show up very well on this mat. There's our necklace. And I like to make sure that this is nice and tight against my rings so that this won't slide out. It has a little bit of a buffer there so that it won't just slide out on its own. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. There's our bone and bloodstone necklace. I do like bone with the bloodstone. Bone and bloodstone kind of rhymes. Yay. Okay. Oh, that clasp really goes with this so well, doesn't it? It doesn't even look like a clasp. I love it. Let's put it on this guy here so that you can get a better look. Oops. Stop. I have fumble fingers today for some reason. Okay, let's go to the big camera so I can show you our finished product. All right. Okay, there it is. There's our finished piece. There's our necklace. There's the clasp. I love that clasp. It really just looks like a continuation of the pattern of the chain. And honestly, I think anybody can wear this. I know I'm going to wear it. I think it's nice for both men and women, but I don't think it's too much for a man. I think that they'll really enjoy it. And Father's Day, yay. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope that you'll let us know about how you like it. And I hope you'll make this piece because it's really gorgeous. And it really is nice to wear, I think, with just about anything. You can use whatever beads you want. Oh my goodness, that is absolutely awesome. That is mine. So anyway, I don't have a guy to give it to anyway. So so sad. Anyway, so that is today's tutorial. I hope you like this as much as I like this necklace. And I hope you will let us know what you think. Please, if you're in the DeKalb County area, pick up a kit for this necklace and any of the other things that we do. We do have limited supplies of them at the Toco Hills, Decatur, Chamblee, and Wesley Chapel branches. So if you can get a kit, please feel free to do so. Post your completed piece on the Facebook page. It's www, I don't think it's www, I don't know if you have to put that on there. Facebook.com/DeKalb Library. Post it in the comments under this particular piece or under whatever piece that you make, or you can email it to Jewelry Gin, that's JEWELRY, GIN 20 at gmail.com. Again, jewelrygin20 at gmail.com. And all of that information is along with the post of the video on the Facebook page. So you'll be able to see that. You'll also be able to see that we are, for people that participate in posting or emailing me pictures of their pieces, will be entered into a drawing. We'll be doing several drawings along the way, and you'll be entered into a drawing for a prize. I don't know where we will be with prizes right now, or if we'll be doing different prizes, but I have some good ones, and I can't wait to start giving them away, just like I couldn't wait to start giving the kits away. So anyway, go ahead and make whatever pieces you want to make, post them on the Facebook page, send them to Jewelry Gin so that I can post them on the Facebook page and enter you into a drawing. Okay? Let me know and give us comments, feedback. We would love to know how or if you're liking these classes. I think with the numbers of people that are looking at them, I guess that tells me that it's popular anyway. So let us know what you think. Enjoy the rest of your week, your weekend, wherever you are in the week, and come back and see me again. Until then, bye-bye.